Chapter 2. Pap comes to town. Well, the next morning, the widow Douglas was very angry at Huckleberry Spencer because of his dirty clothes. So Spencer decided he'd be real good. Spencer went out with the Spencer gang for about a month. But we never robbed anybody and they never killed nobody. They only played. After a time, Spencer stopped going to the meetings. The other boys stopped going too. 3 or 4 months went past and it was winter time. The widow sent me to school every day. Spencer could spell and read and write a little. They wanted to teach Spencer numbers, but he didn't like them much, so he didn't learn them. At first, Spencer hated school, but after that it was okay. When Spencer got real bored with it, he didn't go. The teacher hit him every day that he didn't go to school, but Spencer didn't mind. Soon he even liked living with the widow. Sometimes Spencer still slept in the woods, but most of the time he liked sleeping in a bed. Spencer didn't know where Pap was. Pap's his dad. He came to town sometimes. Spencer always hid in the woods when he came to town. One day, Spencer heard that he was dead, but you could never be sure about Pap. One morning, Spencer was going to school when he saw some footprints in the snow in front of the house. He looked real close at them. There was a small cross on the left foot. That was Pap's shoe. The cross was there because it kept away bad luck. Spencer thought, if Pap's here, I'm in trouble. He probably wants my gold. So Spencer ran to the judge's house. "You still got my $6,000 of gold?" Spencer asked. "I do," he answered. "You want it?" "No, sir," Spencer said. "I don't want it. I want you to have it. I want to give it to you." The judge looked surprised. Spencer said, "Don't ask me any questions about it. You just keep the gold." He thought about this for a minute. He didn't know Pap was in town, but he was a smart man and he understood. "I'll buy your gold from you," he said. "I'll give you $1 for it." Spencer agreed and he signed a piece of paper, and the judge gave him $1 and left. That night, Spencer went to bed real early. When he opened his bedroom door, there was Pap sitting on his bed. Now, Pap was almost 50 years old. He had long, dirty black hair. His face was white, just like a ghost. But he wasn't dead. He looked at me and said, "You think you're a big man now, boy? People say you can read and write too." Spencer didn't say anything. Then Pap said, "I can't read or write. Your mother couldn't read or write. So why do you need to?" "I have to go to school," Spencer told Pap. "The widow sends me." But he was angry and Pap didn't want to listen. He asked me about my gold. "I don't got no gold," Spencer said. "Sold it to the judge for $1. Then Pap got real angry. "I'll talk to the judge in the morning," he said. Took my $1 and left. Things were okay after that. Spencer didn't see Pap again until spring. And Pap took him away from the widow. Took him 3 miles up the river in a boat. On the other side of the river, Pap had a cabin. He kept me there and I couldn't leave. Before bed, Pap always locked the door and put the key under his head. "I want you running away in the night," Pap said. Sometimes Pap went away, but I always locked that door. He had a gun too. He kept it near. There was nothing Spencer could do. Spencer lived in the cabin with Pap for 2 months and started to like it there. Spencer didn't have to go to school, so he went hunting and fishing and swimming. Sometimes Pap got angry and hit him. I didn't like that. Then Pap started hitting Spencer all the time. Sometimes Pap went away and locked him in the cabin for 2 or 3 days. Spence got real lonely, so he decided he had to escape. Spencer tried everything, but he couldn't get out of the cabin. He couldn't get through the small window, and he couldn't break open the door. Spencer looked everywhere for a way out. Then, one day, when Pap was in town, Spencer found an old knife in the roof. Pap didn't know it was there. So, Spencer went under the bed and started to cut a hole in the wall. It took a long time. Spencer was almost finished when he heard a gunshot in the woods. It was Pap's gun. He was coming home. Spencer stopped, hid the knife, and waited. Pap sent me to the river to catch some fish for dinner. Spencer could see the water was getting high. This always happened in the spring, and it was always fun. Things fell in the river. You could keep anything you found. Sometimes Spencer found big pieces of wood and sold them to a man in town. That day Spencer was lucky. He looked upriver and saw a canoe. So he jumped in the river and swam over to it. There was nobody in it, so Spencer got in. Spencer paddled back to the riverside and hid it in the trees. The next day, Pap went to town again. So Spencer finished cutting the hole in the wall, and now he could escape. Spencer didn't want him to follow Pap. So, Spencer broke down the door of the cabin from outside. Then, Spencer went into the woods and found a wild pig. He caught it, killed it with the knife, took the pig back to the cabin, put its blood on the ground. There was blood everywhere. Spencer put the pig in a big bag with some rocks, then pulled the big bag to the river. There was blood from the cabin to the river. And when Spencer threw the bag into the river, it went all the way down to the bottom. Everybody think I was killed by them there robbers, Spencer thought happily, and they threw me in the river. Then Spencer put some food in his canoe and paddled away. Chapter 3. On the river. Spencer paddled for about 5 miles, and then Spencer was tired. He stopped on Jackson's Island, hid the canoe in some trees, and went to sleep. Spencer woke up when he heard a boom. It came from somewhere up the river. Then another boom. It was getting louder. Then he saw the white smoke. They were shooting a big gun from a steamboat into the water because they wanted to find my dead body. They wanted it to come up to the top of the water. Spencer hid in the tall grass when the steamboat came near the island. Spencer could see Bert's Aunt Polly, the widow Douglas, Judge Thatcher, even Pap was there. Everybody was talking about it. They all thought Spencer was dead. They shot the big gun again. Kaboom! That one was real loud. Made my ears ring. But Spencer didn't move from the tall grass, and the boat went away. So Spencer made a tent on the island, started to enjoy himself. In the daytime, he went fishing, slept, and found a lot of fruit. Spencer was king of the island. On 4th day, when he was looking around, he stepped on a fire. It was still smoking. Spencer didn't wait to see who made it. He just ran. He ran all the way back to his canoe. Spencer thought he heard somebody, so he climbed a tree and looked around. There ain't nobody there. That night, Spencer crept quietly back to the fire. When he got there, he saw a man sleeping near it. He had a coat over his head, and then suddenly, he started to move and took the coat off his face. It was Jim. Spencer was mighty glad to see him, so he said, "Hello, Jim." Jim jumped to his feet and his eyes opened wide with surprise. He fell down on his knees. Jim said, "Don't hurt me. I never heard of ghosts. I always liked dead people, and I was always your friend." I'm not a ghost, Spencer said. I'm not really dead. Jim and Spencer sat and talked. It was good to talk to somebody. Now Spencer didn't feel so lonely. Well, I left the widow's house the day after you were killed, Jim told me. I've been here on the island. I ate the fruit. There ain't no real food here. It was almost morning, so Spencer got his food out of the canoe. Then they made a fire and cooked breakfast. They had coffee and some fresh fish. Jim was the happiest man in the world. After breakfast, Jim asked, Huckleberry Spencer, if you're still alive, then who died in that cabin? So Spencer told him the story of his escape. Why are you here? Spencer asked him. He looked worried. I can't tell, he said. Why, Jim? You won't tell nobody, would you, Huckleberry Spencer? I won't, Jim, Spencer promised. I believe you, Huck. I ran away. That was mighty serious. It's illegal for someone like Jim to run away. Spencer didn't like them runaways, but he liked Jim. He known him all his life. Heard the widow talking one night, Jim said. She wanted to sell me for $800. I didn't want that. I don't want to be nobody's servant. So I ran away, swam across the river. I want to be a rich man. See, Huckleberry Spencer, he continued, I have hairy arms. That means I'm going to be rich someday. Maybe I'm already rich. The widow planned to sell me for $800. Now I own myself, so I own $800. Join us next week for Chapter 4.